So welcome everyone to our School of Architecture and Design at New York Tech. I'm Maria Perbellini, the Dean of the school, and I'm delighted to warmly welcome and introduce two very special guests. We have the honor and the true pleasure to have a special and an amazing participation today from PETER EISENMAN. A warm up, right. And I see a lot of students, and I have a script here, but maybe I'm going to tell you a story. Because after graduation, somebody says, well, PETER office is searching for an Italian architect for the church of the 2000 year competition, an invited competition. Only 6 architects were invited, and PETER was one of them. And that's how I started my adventure in his office. And what I learned from PETER, and it was tough, and it was, was more an atelier, was an extension of an educational path for me. It was not just job, was not just work. It was about absorbing from PETER every moment what he could learn, he could teach us. And he's somebody that is seeing things. So the whole office, for example, was working on hundreds of models. He could go there and say, yes, this is the one. Trash all of the others, This is the one. The same with drawings, the same we were at that moment starting to digitize the office. We were, exploring AutoCAD and some other programs, and we are talking about more than 20 years ago, my goodness. And oh my goodness, so what I also want to say is that at the end, when we entered the competition, we were continuing. And we work on that competition afterwards because we had that urgency to complete and evolve and have ideas implemented into the next phase after the competition was actually submitted. And I believe that the best drawings and models were done after the submission. So what I wanted to say is that if you have the opportunity to work with somebody like PETER, or somebody that can transmit to you the passion for what you do, and embrace it. And don't worry where you are going to be next. Just be there in that moment and embrace the maximum that you can from the lesson that you can learn where you are going to working. Okay. So let me now. Thank you, Peter. I think what I learned from you was amazing. And maybe I'm here also because I start that path in New York with you. So, but I'm also delighted to introduce my dear friend, Antonino Saggio, professor at La Sapienza, University of Rome in the Department of Architecture and Design. Professor Saggio is a prominent intellectual figure, an outstanding educator and critic, and the editor and author of numerous books and publications on contemporary architectural discourse. He published extensively. I always admire you, Nino, for your prolific publication record. And I would like to mention that in 1997, he founded the book series La Rivoluzione Informatica in Architettura with Bruno Zevi. And in 1999, the series with 33 volumes was bought by Birkhäuser with the name The IT Revolution in Architecture. And I had the honor to include 2 books from me and my partner are part of the series. And actually we met through this editorial opportunity. So that's also how our friendship started. Among other international schools, he taught at the ETH in Zurich, where he developed courses on Giuseppe Terragni's architecture, and studies were included in his first book, Giuseppe Terragni, Life and Works, Vita e Opere, published the first time in 1995. And this event today is very special because Professor Saggio will present a completely new edition of the monograph on Giuseppe Terragni. The original title is Giuseppe Terragni, una biografia critica in Italian. In 2022, the first of the new publication was out, and is including the renowned project Casa del Fascio, but is also about Terragni's cultural formation, intellectual and political engagement, and the tragic relevance of his latest life. Well, after Nino's presentation, we have the distinct pleasure again to involve PETER EISENMAN in an extraordinary, I'm sure, conversation, and I invite you to stay after Nino's is done with his presentation. He has, let me spend a couple of words in addition for Peter. He has influenced the international architectural discourse with his extensive theoretical contributions, built and critical design work that has been published and presented worldwide, obtaining innumerable prestigious awards and recognitions, and impacted also the academic environments of many, many universities. And I'm just mentioning Yale, Cooper Union, Princeton, Harvard, and many, many more nationally and internationally. And he was awarded honorary doctorates from the University of Illinois, the Pratt Institute, Syracuse, and La Sapienza in Rome. And we are extremely grateful. And I see Mario Carpo. Hey, a lot of friends. Why don't you join us, Mario? Very spontaneously, between friends. And Nino asked Peter to write a text for the book. And he specifically asked, don't write an introduction. And he says, okay, you know, because it's still vivid, your involvement with Giuseppe Terragni, I would say after 60 years, right? So I love the title of your text, Il mio Terragni, la mia Italia. That's translated. That's translated, right? And Peter's first encounter with the Italian architecture happened at the University of Cambridge in 1960 with a book by Alberto Sartoris, the Encyclopédie de l'Architecture Nouvelle, where was including, it was including work by Giuseppe Terragni, and particularly La Casa del Fascio, Asilo Sant'Elia, and Giuliani Frigerio apartments. I'm translating from Nino's now, so I'm sure Nino translated from the English, your text, and now I'm translating from Nino's Italian text. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. This is what Peter said. While I didn't realize the impact of what I was seeing at the time, it was something completely different, so unique that I have never been able to erase the moment that discovery occurred. In fact, it can be said that my work since that discovery has been in part an attempt to understand why those buildings had such an effect on me. This is quite something to reflect today, right? So Nino presentation of his new book and the conversation with Peter that will follow will give us the opportunity to discuss a trajectory of an incredible architect that is here with us, but also for you, students, an educational moment. And we'll give also the opportunity maybe to discuss intersecting or parallel or even divergence trajectories in approaching and studying the work and seeing the work of Terragni. So please now, Nino.
Grazie. All right. Thank you very much. I should be very calm because I tend to overwhelm myself when I speak. I get, yes, a lot. And so probably we can turn the light off a little bit more, please. So thank you. I have organized the talk in such a way. Mouse. I cannot find them. It's down. Sorry about that. Okay, good. Everything it is on internet, and if you just Google my name, you will find the advertisement of the talk. So I'm doing the talk directly in English. I prepared these 4 hidden links are the most secret one. If you just jump, you will see the relationship between the historical indispensable figure for today architecture, PETER EISENMAN. So here are all hidden links, including our Laurea Honoris Causa PETER in 2004, the discussion, the lecture of PETER in Casa del Fascio itself in 2004, and the ETH Zurich presentation of the book series and so on. But I wanted to really say that I'm so happy, not only for the presence of PETER, but for the long relationship with Maria Rita Perbellini, your dean, that I had prepared a talk, short talk, 30 seconds, about the relevance of the church of 2000, but you basically did already. It was, I think, one of the most relevant projects of PETER EISENMAN in my point of view. I'm not going to talk of the book at all. You don't hear me. Okay, good.
You can also use the.
No, I prefer to have a free hand. Thank you. I'm not going to talk about the book at all. That was said here. There is a preview of the book. The book is available also in Amazon.com if you are interested. Not many people know in the room exactly who is Terragni. So very short introduction that I think it is needed for the student. Giuseppe Ercole Enea Terragni is the enfant prodige of Italian architecture between the 2 world wars. Many authors consider the most relevant architect of Italy, but surely is the architect to whom is dedicated the maximum number of pages in books and articles. He finished his career at the age of 35 because he joined the war, and where he came after the war. We will discuss about that. He was a big person, big man, higher than me, stronger than me, shoulders very solid. That's why probably the second name Hercules. Here we see him in the in a quarry. He was picking marble plates for the house of Fascio. This is the little Alberto Sartori's. I picked this picture because I think it is very important to me, at least. This is the place which Terragni was working during the night. He was working always during the night, making his wonderful sketches, and with his cat. And in the morning, he was giving the drawing to the office because it was actually a small office, medium-sized office with the older brother that was an engineer. Then there were different adjustments, etc. This slide is fundamental because this is Giuseppe Terragni. He is on the ship in the trip between Marseille to Athens. It is important because it is clearly to understood that Terragni is part of the leading group of architects of modernity. He's not a second figure, he's a first figure. Le Corbusier called him the brother of a common loot, of a common fight for modernity. Here is Terragni, here is Le Corbusier. This is fundamental to have understood. It's a first level figure. And these are pictures from this incredible, beautiful movie. If you've ever seen, this is a wonderful movie. It's 34 minutes movie that it is done in during the trip of the Paris free ship from Marseille to Athens, and it's done by the Molinagri. And Molinagri, of course, is a key figure in Bauhaus. As soon as we move, you will see a wonderful scenes. So basically, the Congress was that one that was founded the room. This is Bardi, another Italian. It's founded the room of the so-called Chart of Athens. So all new urbanism was presented. The ideas were presented there. And actually, Terragni presented the project, the city planning of Como, that he was winning. He won the project the year after. Of course, we can talk a lot about all these aspects, but just to touch here and there. War. This is Terragni living for the war, and you see they are all pretty. I will not say happy, but surely with a certain level of enthusiasm. And this is how Terragni came back. He came back with a dramatic, very, very high nervous breakdown. He was put it in electroshock. And at the time, the electroshock was just at the beginning and basically died. This is very important because Terragni kept keeping his uniform. Even when he was in Como, he was always leaving the uniform because he wanted to feel that he was a soldier and nobody has to imagine that he escaped the war, okay? This is his last project, the Cathedral of 1943. We just published an article about this project because was not known. Was known only through the original sketches. So now you can have that. Okay, now so we finish very few bio. The structure of the talk will be what's happening. Okay, structure of the talk is all right. After this short overview, just to place yourself a little bit, I will very shortly, 2 minutes, show you a series of images concerning other Terragni architecture. So again, you have the public have a larger view, and then we go into Casa del Fascio, and we spend the last 20 minutes or so on the Casa del Fascio. Please, please, in Maria, stop me. Okay, when is the moment? So this is Como. That's drawing one of his. Yeah. We will. We are going to see it in a details later. Can we take this? Yeah, this. Fascio, we're going to discuss typically now. Your time. Sorry, this mouse creates me a problem, but anyway, just 1 second. Okay, we saw this, I think. Okay. Okay. Terragni did with this colleague several buildings in Milano as well. Here are some. He did 5. And this is the most important one, Casa Rustici, extremely important building. This is the villa on the top. And projects in Rome, projects in Milano, the Academy of Brera, monuments, and also this tomb, etc. Several villas, starting from a more Le Corbusierian language and went later to other things. Okay, so just this to give you an idea, and you can see all these movies or a large selection of images, etc. Everything from the website, from the website. Locations. All right, now let's start to understand the Casa del Fascio. You have a little bit to understand Como before of that. I put together these 2 images so you really understand. Como is a colonial city, if we may call it like that, founded by the Romans during their conquer of the northern part of Italy. So it started, as many other cities, as a military camp. So the military camp evolved gradually into a grid-like city organized in Cardus and Decumanus. Around it is the expansion. If we see the actual city, and here we are, okay, so you see the presence of the walls, and the real hub of the city is around the Duomo, and the Casa del Fascio is just there. It is just outside the Duomo, okay? So it is really 200 meters, and I pick a picture that I imagine how Peter was seeing the Casa del Fascio the first time. I imagine reading his text in my book. So of course I did that because you can later on see in more details if you want. Okay, so Roman camp, grid, architecture is thought as an artificial act in contrast with nature, in dialectic relationship with nature. This, I think, for many people is the first view of the Casa del Fascio. So I was imagining this could be for Peter as well. Now, we are going to see again a movie just that you feel the building in a kind of emotional way, not really in an architectural scholar or student. We are going to understand later on what's actually going on, but now it's only emotional, and I think that will be fine. So you understand that the building is several floors, that there is a constant interplay between inside and outside. You will see that there are rather amazing details and space that can be interpreted in a very by an abstract, I would call, photographer in a very strong way, like really forcing almost the dynamic nature of the inside. This is me during the night of 2004. I was really going up to the maximum level over there because the building was empty during the night. So I was really going up. These are other pictures by my friend photographer Dennis Marsico. And so you will now let's try to understand what's going on in this building. So for a matter of time, we have to do it fast. Okay, all right. Now, first of all, let's try to have an understanding of the building from, let's say, a distributional functional point of view. Because I think that if you start to understand the building from this point of view, that's my interpretation, and I want to share that with you. First thing, I'm here to fence with anybody, including Peter Eisman, that wants to read this as a courtyard building, okay? This is not a courtyard building, of course, everything can be read in different ways, but the key to understand the building is that it is a triad system. It's a system based on 3 bands. And of course, places, main stair and service stair are kind of place where it's normal in that type of typology, but you never understand the building if you think that it's a courtyard building. It's a new typology that not only Terragni invented, but this triad scheme is being using over and over again. He's using in Rustici, he's using in Asilo Sant'Elia, he's even using in Giuliani Frigerio. Why, in this case, this geometrical organization divided in 3 bands is so crucial? We're going to see in a second, but from a functional point of view, this is the ground floor. The ground floor has several offices and functions related to fascist organizations. And of course, there is a control point here that is still there today, main stair here. So you go up here as the main, and that is the second. You arrive to the second level. Okay, you arrive to the second level, which is this one. There is this balcony overlooking the space inside, major meeting room, and Federale, that is the chief room, other offices all around. The other floor, this floor, you don't, this floor and this floor are separated by this system of glass block and beams, etc. So you don't overlook from here to here. This is a crucial aspect of the building. I'm going to tell you in a second why that is so important. And then, of course, you have other functions always related to the program. We are going to talk in a second of the program. And then finally, you arrive only with this stair to the upper floor, which basically, as you can see, has terraces and this kind of passageways that basically allows a certain level of difference between this part, the Unione Sociale Fascista, etc., and this other part. So this is the function and the 3-band organization. Why? Now let's go to understanding why. Why is explained here. Terragni invented a spatial system that, as is clearly shown in this picture, allows an almost continuous transition from the inside, adunate, where the people were gathering around this, and the outside. So inside and outside are strongly connected. That's why the building, it is indeed what we just discussed. So that continuous transition, going from the inside to the outside is the key. And the automatic doors that will open all together will reinforce that thing. So this is the reason. And we are going to talk later about the facade, but you have to understand what was the battle there and why I call this lecture Design Dangerously. Living dangerously is a motto of fascism, right? Vivere pericolosamente, living dangerously. So I translated that into the topic of this, the title of this lecture. Reason is that Terragni is running on an edge like that. He's running on an edge. What was the edge? And it was in every second it's possible to fall on one side on the other of that edge. The one side is Le Corbusier, and there is the old modernism revolution. So that means abstraction, that means modern material, that means anti-perspective, that means dynamism. On the other side, there is the fascism as a client. And the fascists as a client wanted this type of building that are completely new in the system of Italy, because where the place where the party, the fascist party as an Italian dictatorial party had be celebrated, okay? So these Casa del Fascio were happening in many, many towns in Italy, and in Rome was supposed to be a huge Casa del Fascio in which Terragni did the competition. Not the point. So what is this difficult edge? Was that one side, there was the old rhetoric of rhetoric and symbolism of a dictatorial state. And we know generally, almost always, dictatorial shapes love symmetry, love pyramidal form, love symbolism here and there. We have example all over the world, of course, in Russia, in Italy a lot, but also in so-called democratic countries, including the United States, in which we sometimes see this type of organization. So Terragni had to move along that edge. On one side, show that he was part of the revolution of modernity, and on the other side, being able to answer to the desire of a dictatorial shape. What was his way? First of all, was this genial idea, the building as a building that, yes, it is apparently closing itself, but in reality, or thought was a series of connections. Second, which is the most important idea, to create a perfect semi-cube, and the perfect semi-cube was a kind of primordial, primitive, metaphysical presence. So it was not creating any type of compromise, let's say, with the environment, but it was kind of delving in the old Roman memory of abstract form and of cardo decumano. So you can, in a way, you can see that in the facade is like the plan of the city that is projected there, if you remember that. So he was able to solve that through abstraction and through metaphysical presence. So that is how he followed that path, okay? And here, very little, because I don't want to, but if you click here, I won't click, you will see what is the typical or one of the many rhetorical so-called things that are done in that way. But Terragni is not only that. Not only invented really a typology to address that issue, crucial issue, and everything was done during the Christmas vacation 1932. He was 28, okay, when he did this. He was built later, but he was 28. Okay, so, but he had the most incredible idea that was, how can I create a dynamic abstract architecture within the boundaries of a semi-cube? So I have to invent something else, because the first thing that you have a semi-cube, you will start to think of axiality and all that. Terragni really invented an incredible system that everybody can use, particularly if you have short time to make a simple, beautiful architecture. So let's see what is invented. Again, everything is based on the bands, often bands, okay, no? Come bandwidth, si capisce bands, no? Bands that in this case run always vertically, apparently vertically, with no differentiation from bottom to top. So you can see that the building as divided in different bands or in different parties in the all elevations, always going from bottom to top, one close to the other, with no respect whatsoever of inside functionality. This is absolutely key. We didn't have to wait the postmodern to understand that. In order to prove that, I asked the school and my friend Giovanni Santamaria in particularly, build a model. Because in architecture, we have to prove what we are saying, which does not mean that it's true, but it's effective. So look what I'm just saying. Let's start to look at the main elevation, which is this one, okay? Yes, which is very important. This crisis in Terragni, there is no such a thing as an upside down. First thing, the building from a compositional point of view is not upside down because it's an abstract construction. It is thought as a monograph, basically. So it does not matter. There is no point of reference through which you can understand what is happening. Okay? So imagine it, I'm talking for the younger, but they don't even know what I'm talking about. Imagine the Kubrick cube, right? That you can compose and move it in different compositional ways. So imagine it like that. This was the most incredible invention, okay? Because, okay, now let's go back to the main elevation. We discussed a lot about the fact that the central band was the one that was crucial because of the inside-outside connection. But Terragni didn't care at all. He did not care to show it. So he's breaking one of the taboo of modernism, you see? Because this and this have two completely different organizations. This is almost, you know, this is the place. So if you look in plan, there is no reason whatsoever to make them different. Instead, you make one blank and one not, okay? Why? Because he's playing another game. He's playing the game of the architectural composition. And architectural composition is as tangency with the functions, but is not overlapping the functions. Okay? This is something that we learn very well. Okay? And is already clear in Terragni. So the point that I was doing is that now notice, as always, there is this thing, and that is also how the fifth elevation is important. Actually, I would love to have plans, excavated it and looking from the bottom. Make the sixth, that would be a great project because they want to make a museum of Italian rationalism. So we want to have a project for that, I think, and we will discuss about, but that will not be a bad idea. We will start to discuss about it. So this is a very important point. And from now, for me, my pleasure here is not hearing me talking about Terragni, believe me, I've done it a lot of times, but to have the discussion afterwards. So I think this is, I believe that is enough. I believe this is enough. What could be relevant was there. These are some pictures, some are dated 1987 because it's the first time we went there. These are the original glass blocks, they are not there anymore. These are the other photographers that I love very much, that I admire very much. Is Paolo Rosselli from Milano. And I love to have the two photographers, one close to the other, because they show how important is representation. They're completely different things. This, by the way, and I'm closing, this is Giuseppe Terragni. Okay, he has a broom in his hand and he's cleaning the house. Thanks. Yeah. Okay.
Where you see the from the top the
Wait. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, or you want to see the CD?
No, go. No, down, up. Yeah. Stop.
Good. That's pretty interactive. Okay.
So I want you to.
Yeah.
You presented a Terragni almost, for me, monolithically moderate, let's say. He didn't want a Torre Latoria. He only did one Casa del Fascio. I mean, this was, but the thing that I wanted to hear you talk about was he did an apartment building called Novo Como. All right. He did it in 1929. His first drawings for Novo Como were Novecento. They weren't modern at all.
Arrivo a poco più di 1 metro. Quindi questo dovrebbe essere a poco più di 1 metro. Perché invece questo si trova molto più giù, molto più, non mi ricordo.